Hello, and welcome to another episode of Daily Anime Reviews, where we talk about seasonal episodes of anime that are coming out in the current season. Today we're talking about the newest anime, Journal with Witch, which, don't get the witch part, still don't. Maybe that has to do with the characters that are associated with it. I mean, that is a possibility given how one of our main characters is potentially portrayed, but this was a nice, pleasant thing. I liked this. I liked this a lot. I was pretty accurate when it came to what I thought this was going to be. Was basically going to be two people helping each other process different emotions and stuff throughout the world, but in very different ways. I thought it was going to be like the exploration of like death and processing, which that still seems to be a big element of it, but a lot of it also has to do with processing just the idea of loneliness, since Asa, the kid character that we're going to be following, lost her parents and now staying with the aunt, Makio. And it seems like obviously Asa now being like kind of out in the world, not being able to have the people around her that she wants, Makio's there to kind of stand up as the person who can guide her through the loneliness, which is nice because I assume she has that feeling, but from a different aspect, which would be very, very interesting as well. Also, I'm not gonna lie, this hit a little bit personally because they had they went back to a couple of times to the funeral scene, but it seemed like everybody was there to pay their respects, but also didn't care. And you can tell, given the fact that no one wanted to bring in the daughter, and there was all this stuff, and even Makio can realize that there's this girl and she's alone, and no one's really comforting her. They feel bad for her, but no one's really taking her in. That's why Makio steps up and is like, yeah, no, I get that loneliness and I get why you feel like that. That's why I want to make you feel well. But it does seem like the mother is going to be this looming figure over the both of them, since I assume maybe Asa has some of the same feelings as Makio does, but maybe processed differently, right? Because it seems like Makio had such a bad interaction with her sister, who was the mother of Asa, where she would look at it as kind of belittling and kind of bad. That's kind of how I potentially would see it, especially since the way that they depict it would be already seems like they would have different outlooks on it, because in one scene you see Makio talk about, oh, don't put too much pressure on me. And Asa kind of makes a remark that her mother would make to the sister. But Asa plays it up as it's kind of not a big deal and not super serious. Not in a malicious way, but either in a way that either she looks at what her mother would say differently, or looks at it in a way where she doesn't really know the context of why she would say stuff like that. And I have a feeling that that's going to be Makio's side of the exploration, is realizing that maybe some of the things that she would assume from people, or maybe some of the things that she would treat people, is not similar to the same way that other people would take it, and then she's got it all wrong, and now she kind of has to process with the fact that she's been wrong this entire time, which would be very interesting. And I think Asa's side's definitely going to be more of just dealing with the loneliness and dealing with the idea of being your own person, and just going out into the world and doing that kind of stuff and having your own passion. So I think it'll be nice in that exploration. I think it's gonna be really fun to see that. It's also was just very pleasant to see. I love the type of imaginative things with Asa's imagination running wild with different scenarios, and Makio, we see some representation of her book, and we realize that part of her book is also her, which will make a lot of sense if that main character is kind of a reflection of herself, of being oh, she's always trying to find a way, no matter where she's going, she's always trying to find her way home, but it's kind of too late. So it's kind of interesting in that regard. I kind of like that aspect. I mean, also it's funny, I wanted to point out that it's very nice seeing two exes have someone of a healthy relationship still, apart from the actual dating part, because Makio goes to see what it was I assume is the ex, called Kasamuchi, I think his name is, after talking with her friend Daigo, who comes over and they hang out, and then which that interaction with Daigo and Makio is also very interesting, because you see that Asa's interacting like, oh, this is how like adults talk. Do adults really talk like this? Which makes me assume that her mother didn't really have many people around her towards the end, which would also explain like the funeral and other stuff like that. So that would be like kind of probably my assumption, right? But then after that, we see Makio talking with an ex. It seems like the ex, and like even though there's like a level of like still caring there, or like a level of like, yeah, I'm hurt, but they obviously do care for each other and still talk to each other because like, yeah, we're broken up, but also you're someone that like, you know, I care about and I care about your opinion. I think it's just nice to see healthy relationships even after breakups in anime. You don't really see that in the shonen side, but after I've kind of made it a point this year to expand my horizons to seinen and joseis and shoujos, so I see a lot more of that. So anybody who's like, oh, there's not this in anime, there's not that in anime, there is. Get out of shonen. It'll help you. It'll help you a lot. But yeah, I assuming that we're going to have a lot of process to do here. Not much was really told, and honestly, I'm very tired and I'm recording very late, so apologies if this is not too much, but I really like this. I'd probably give this episode, so episode 1, probably like a B, and episode 2 like B minus. I don't like, they were like good episodes of television, nothing like a C. I wouldn't call it necessarily average. Maybe second one, just because it felt that no B. Yeah, I think both of them deserve a B. I think that's an appropriate grading for each of these as where they stand. But yes, let me know what you guys think of the episode for Journal of the Witch, if you liked it or if you hate it, or whatever opinions that you have on it. Of course, I will be talking about these weekly, so check back in tomorrow for whatever I'm talking about. With that being said, thank you for watching the video. I hope you have a lovely time, and I will see you within the next video. Bye-bye.